And we are live. So here I am once again, the American Werewolf. I believe this is episode 54 of an American Werewolf in New Jersey podcast. Not too shabby. I'm here once again with Eric from Hey Internet. Eric here and the Two Bearded Losers podcast. I always appreciate when Eric takes the time to stop in and hang out and shoot the shit for some movies. So thanks once again for coming on board.
Always a pleasure, man. It's been too long.
Yeah, I hear you. We don't get to do this often enough. Yesterday, as you know, I brought back the Something Shitty This Way Comes subthread for a take on what I consider to be probably the most overrated werewolf movie of all time, Joe Dante's The Howling. Which was literally, and I think I told you this. To quote Russell Crowe from a movie. It gives you a blinding headache, and it just makes you angry. So that I needed one of those right there that you've got in your hand after I finished that movie. And
I did a spit take.
Yeah, I'm gonna need a resupply. This weekend after having to endure that POS. But this movie, conversely. Is just a fine piece of celluloid, and I'm happy to. I'm an American Werewolf in New Jersey, so I'm always happy to talk about werewolf movies. The werewolf is my favorite movie monster, and to be able to counterbalance that piece of crap from yesterday with something halfway decent today, makes me kind of happy. So if you're ready to go, shall we get it going?
Let's do it.
Boogie woogie. So we're here today to talk about a fantastic werewolf movie called Howl. Howl, which is something I caught quite by accident a number of years ago. I think it was on a foreign Netflix, and I was overseas, and I was like, oh, what the hell is this? Let me watch it. And I was just like, holy shit, this is just a fucking great movie. It was the same kind of reaction I had with Stakeland. And that I just sort of ran into this movie sitting on the couch one night and had, absolutely nothing going on and zero expectation of having my ass kicked. And then the next thing you know, I'm just completely along for the ride.
Oh, absolutely. It's like you've seen me, talk about this on Twitter, and I always hashtag that it's like a hidden gem.
Yeah.
Because I came across this by, I guess you would say, accident. A buddy of mine sent me, I guess you would say, a care package of just random movies. And I would say 90% of them were garbage. So I'm going to, I figured this one wasn't going to be that great either because the cover of the DVD wasn't too enticing. You know what I mean? So I figured, what the hell? I haven't seen a werewolf movie in a long time. I sat down and holy shit. I thought this movie was great from beginning to end.
Yeah.
And I was so happy when I found out, because I think you posted something on, I don't know if it was Instagram or your Twitter, and you had just gotten something from Amazon or something. You were showing off 4 different movies, and one of them was Howl.
Yeah.
And it was, I'm like, holy shit, someone other than me and my buddy know about this movie, and you said that you liked it then. I'm like, good. And then on my channel, I tried to give it a little spotlight because I think it deserves a big audience because other than you and my buddy, I don't know anyone that's ever talked about this film.
I have sort of mixed feelings about, you come out here and we do these shows and, we want to talk about movies that, we enjoy. We want to come out here and talk about Howl. I don't know that, I don't know how successful we are. I think every once in a while, I personally feel that I reach 1 or 2 people. here or there, and so that's all we can do, and I've done all that I could about it. So I'm not against promoting, or trying to, create this exposure for other people. At the same time, I'm also sometimes a fan of keeping things small. If that makes any sense, so I'm just like, maybe a couple people are only going to watch this movie, and that's just the way it plays out. And you wish it were otherwise, but it just pans out the way that it pans out.
It's something they call these movies cult movies for a reason. It's got a select number of people that know about it, and usually they enjoy it, and I think for good reason, which we'll get into.
Yeah. Now, this movie was directed by Paul Hyett, and I think this is his sophomore effort. The other movie he did before that that got him launched was something called The Seasoning House, which I don't know anything about, but that was it. But Paul Hyett was the special effects and makeup guy for Neil Marshall.
Okay.
So he was the special effects and makeup guy for Dogs. I don't think he was involved with Dog Soldiers. I don't think he was. But he was the special effects and makeup guy for The Descent.
Yes, that's where I knew the name.
For Centurion, and that movie Doomsday.
Okay.
So Neil Marshall kind of has his regulars that he goes to, like Shauna McDonald in The Descent. She's the lead in that, and then she's the kind of business elite woman here, on the train, getting back from, she's taking kind of a side role in this. But he has those regular people that he goes with. We'll get into one other that I was extremely happy to see, even if it was just for a few seconds.
Same here.
And I was like, man, that just made the whole movie. I had forgotten that he was in there. And I'm like, holy shit, is that, and then I was like, oh, man, this is awesome. This is awesome. So if you don't, I just want to say in advance, if you don't have a physical copy of this, it's playing right now on Tubi. And it's on Shudder. And I don't think it's playing on Amazon, but I think that there is a third streaming option for it right now. So Tubi, which is free. And then Shudder. So I ended up watching it on Shudder because I'm paying for Shudder. So I figure I might as well get my $6.99 worth, or whatever the hell it is.
Right.
But this is just this movie had no theatrical release. There was
not to my knowledge.
No, there wasn't. I did a little bit of research. It was released at three different like horror fests.
Okay.
And that's kind of was the extent of its exposure in the big screen. I mean, nowadays almost no one gets a theatrical release. Theatrical releases are sadly, I think, they may be on their way to becoming a thing of the past.
Yeah.
But I think the lack of theatrical release is what has managed to keep this thing so small. Because I think a lot of people, if they had gone to sit down in the theater, I would love to have seen this in a theater with a big bowl of popcorn and nice cold Pepsi. In
the dark, and then just with that sound system, especially in certain scenes. Yeah, this would have been amazing to see on the big screen.
Yeah.
I would have loved it.
I don't know. I mean, if it does come to the fact that, the cinema houses go the way of the dinosaurs, I mean, I may have to upgrade my sound system.
Yeah, same here.
Because there are certain things that not every horror. I don't think horror movies are necessarily one of those mandatory movies that you have to see on the big screen. I think war movies, westerns, science fiction, and then your blockbusters. Like now, I mean, it's a genre. You have to see the comic book movies,
right?
In the big screen. But this particular horror movie would have just been fantastic to watch. It had great setting, atmosphere. It had great sound effects.
Oh yeah! Oh hell yeah! When these wolves attacked, and you just hear like we jump around sometimes on this show, but there's a scene, let's just say, where a werewolf is attacking someone behind a door, and you can only see a little bit through the hole after the claw marks, and you just hear the sound effects of the eating and the killing, and it's perfect. Yeah, like this would be perfect. Like, before COVID and everything, pretty much like you said, killed the movie theaters. In my hometown, we used to have like midnight movies, where you
Okay.
can vote for like independent movies or like old shit from like the 80s and stuff at midnight, $2. This would be great to see like with like a local crowd, midnight, having a bunch of fun, and it would be packed. Everyone would be cheering because this is such a fun movie.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I covered also on something shitty, Joe Johnston's The Wolfman, which was just completely pretentious.
Yeah.
And I'm not what I actually hope for in my heart of hearts one day is the epic werewolf film. With some serious content in it. But Joe Johnston, for whatever reason, had to push that movie through in like 80 days or something like that. And he ended up going with CGI, and it turned out not to be very good. But the point I was making is I think that movie is like 2 hours and 10 minutes. Whereas this is just a very streamlined 90 minutes.
Yep.
And just it hits all the markers without really trying, and is just fantastic and fun.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a streamlined 90 minutes, and there's no lag in this movie at all. To me, there's no scene, there's no part in this movie because like you can identify with some of these characters.
Yeah.
You can hate some of these characters, but you're like, okay, I'm waiting for them to go.
Yeah.
And it's I'm never bored. I'm always having fun. So there's no lag in this from beginning to end. There's always something to keep your eyes on the screen.
We got some comments here. John is here from the show. What's up, brother?
Hey, John.
John says the sound effects are the most underrated parts of movies. And I remember when we did our top 10 list, Bill's number one movie was The Exorcist. And he said what really got him were the sound effects. They really are something. But what we have here is basically the story of a man. I think his name is Joe.
I believe so, yeah.
Who is a train employee, is like the guard on like a transit train in the UK. This is a British horror movie, which is just really cool. He's kind of a pushover. He's kind of sort of a pushover. He's just been. That's my take. He's just been passed over for a promotion. The guy that receives the promotion is literally like rubbing his nose in it.
Yep.
To his face. And instead of telling the guy to go fuck himself, he just kind of says nothing.
Right. See, you're right there. I kind of, to pull back the curtain a little bit for me, I kind of identified with Joe in the fact where, you have those type of coworkers.
Sure.
But he's also that guy who's just like, he's stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he's just, he just got off work. So now he's got to do like a double shift with no notice. Yeah. All the people, like, I don't work with the public. I used to. But, he's working with, the one girl who's on the phone and she's just being a snob. She's telling her friends that he's checking her out, even though he's not.
Yeah.
And, he's the older lady with the dog. He's just like, he's one of those guys, he goes to work and just slumps his shoulders.
Yeah.
So he can be very identifiable for like the working class.
Yeah, he's kind of
you know what I mean?
He's kind of the everyman.
Yes.
He's the working class hero. He's just, it's like that, what was it? Is that Huey Lewis taking what they're given? Because he's working for a living, that kind of thing. He's got that kind of vibe going on. He at the same time that his boss is, rubbing his nose in the fact that he got the promotion that probably you get the impression it should have been Joe's.
Right.
But, of course, in the shitty work world, things rarely work out the way that they're supposed to on any sort of just level. It's always the assholes that are, getting the promotions. And
the brown nosers.
Yeah, exactly. The people that will backstab you and, do all kinds of things. We saw a similar thing when we did Drag Me to Hell.
Yes.
Allison Lohan, she's competing for a promotion, and the guy that she's competing against is just a backstabbing weasel. He tries to undercut her at every possible opportunity, and because she's so nice, she just keeps falling into it again and again and again. So yeah, these people are very relatable. You think that Joe's a very nice person. But at the same time that his boss is sticking it in his eye about the promotion, he also assigns him double shift.
Yep.
That night. Like he's off shift. Sorry,
Yeah.
you got to go back out and run an all nighter. Some red eye.
Yeah, because I think he's literally, when he tells him that, he's literally like at his locker getting ready to put on his like civilian clothes, isn't he?
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
But he also does it because he likes the food cart girl.
Yeah.
He sees that she's going to be on the train. So, that's kind of some motivation for him right there.
Mm-hmm.
It's a screwy kind of thing. They get on the train. He's still getting pushed around. There's that, there's the douchebag sort of alpha male hyper businessman.
Yeah. Oh God.
He's really assertive,
Mm-hmm.
Joe. I think the cart falls over one time and Joe can't pick it up. So he just, gets up there and, kind of pushes Joe out of the way and lifts it.
Yeah, he shows off.
Yeah, right in front of the girl that he likes. Mm-hmm. And, then there's, what did you call her? The hipster bimbo, I just kind of called her.
Yeah, because you never learn her name.
Yeah, you never learn her name. She's, oh my God, this guy was so hot on the phone, and I can't wait to go out tomorrow, and I can wear this, and and he's just like, your tickets, please. He's just trying to collect tickets.
Yeah.
And she's blowing him off, like she hears him.
Oh yeah, you can tell because she kind of glances out of the side of her eye, and then she's going back to her friend, and then of course she knows, she can tell he's a pushover, so that's why she says, "Oh, this dude's totally checking me out,"
Yeah. Everybody kind of reads him.
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of reads him, and there you go, and poor Joe is just, like you said, the one lady with the dog.
Mm-hmm.
He has to charge Shauna McDonald like 40 pounds for the train ride. So she's irate at him.
Yep.
It ceases to become a business transaction. Now it's like a personal jab at him.
Yep.
She's like, why couldn't you get a real job or something like that? So like everybody's taking out all this shit on poor Joe. He's just trying to get through his shift. And, all of a sudden while they're on the train, this accident happens. And so the train is stuck like in the middle of this forest along the track.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we see our man, the captain, if I'm not mistaken, here it is because these photos are so damn dark.
Yes.
Sean Pertwee.
Absolutely.
I could not have been more pleased to see Mr. Pertwee, the Sarge from Dog Soldiers.
Yes.
Alfred from Gotham.
Oh my God. I loved Dog Soldiers in general. He was the star. He was the reason to watch that. Not to give too many spoilers about Dog Soldier, but let's just say when they're patching him up on the bed, man. And Sean Pertwee was apparently like really drunk in real life during that scene, so he really had to get knocked out. Yeah, he was really drinking real whiskey, and they really did knock him out in that scene because he was being a little belligerent. And then I'm a huge fan of Gotham, and I thought him as Alfred was fantastic. That take. They made him, they made him like an ex, CIA agent or something like that. But he was just so smooth and cool, but he downplayed it, and you knew you didn't want to mess with him. So it was cool how he was this in-your-face character in Dog Soldiers, but he was calm and collected, but dangerous in Gotham. So I don't know Sean from a lot of stuff, but I always get a smile on my face when I read the back of the DVD. And it said, an appearance by Sean Pertwee or something like that. So I figured he wasn't going to be in it very long. But I'm like, when he was on screen, I kind of fist pumped. And I'm like, yes, I love that man.
Same here, because I hadn't seen this movie probably in about a year.
Okay.
So I had forgotten that he was in it. So I watched it last night after I did something shitty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, shit, I gotta get ready for it tomorrow. And, there I am 20 minutes into it, and then Sean Pertwee walks right there. And I'm like, holy shit, it's Sean Pertwee.
I know.
Fucking awesome. Unfortunately, Sean isn't long for this movie, and he gets swiped by the first creature. Now, as a further extension of kind of what a pushover Joe is at this point, everybody kind of gangs up on him. To open up the train because they just want to walk to the next station, which they think is like 2 miles away.
Right.
Having absolutely no idea what's waiting for them out there. And that's where, I remember watching The Howling, and I think I talked about this yesterday. About 10 minutes into it, I started playing with my computer. Like
Yeah.
I just lost interest. 15
Yeah.
minutes into it, I told you. I think I said yesterday. I wanted my money back.
Yeah, and that's bad when you only spent like $4.
Yeah, $3.99, and I'm like, I want my money back. Like, give it to me now. If I ever see Bezos on the street, give me my fucking $4 back, you asshole. You fucking robbed me with that shitty movie. This movie, by the time the howling, the literal howling, the sound of the howling begins, you're about 30, 35 minutes in, maybe a little less. Maybe it's 20 or so. But I realized somehow when that howling started, like there was a genuine creep factor happening in that movie. That was scary. I had seen it before. I think I'd seen it twice before. But I was like, oh, man, this is, especially coming off the comparison from, just the show that I had done 45 minutes before that.
Right.
To move into the next room, to cue it up on the, on the TV, and then, just start watching it. I'm like, this is a werewolf movie.
And what I think helps that is what I like about this movie. It's literally 2 sets, you counting the train station, maybe 3. You have train station, which you get 2 minutes of it.
Yeah.
You're inside the train for about 90% of the movie. And then when they're finally outside, so you're already in this confined space, for most of the movie. So you're already feeling uncomfortable. But the atmosphere when everyone's outside, the way it's shot in the dark, you only have the moonlight, you have the fog and everything. You get this general creepy feeling. Like you don't, and what's good is like, I think John said it in the chat, sound is so important. Yeah. You just hear the creatures in the background.
Yeah.
And that helps, the intensity of these scenes. And I think it's done perfectly.
What was ironic about this movie is that the claustrophobia in the train, they're basically, they've got like a car, one car to themselves. They've kind of barricaded themselves into this one car. But the claustrophobic area is the safe area. Usually the place you go where there's claustrophobia, that's where the danger is. But it's when they step outside into the world or into the forest or into the trees, like you realize almost instantly that they've made a horrible mistake.
I know. And like I said, just the way it's shot and the way the forest looks. Like even when a scene later on in the movie when one guy's working underneath the train and you have one guy standing guard, there's a general feeling of uneasy because you've seen enough werewolf movies, you've seen enough horror movies. One of them's not going to make it.
Yeah.
But you don't know which one. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. And that's what I like about this movie is the anticipation.
Well, and what was ironic is that you start out really not liking many of the people.
Right.
But by the time it really kicks off, like you start to sympathize. You really did. Like, my feelings toward them sort of shifted.
Same here.
Maybe with one exception. But for the most part, like even the hipster bimbo,
right?
You realize when it's all stripped away, she's just a kid.
Exactly.
Like she starts talking to Shauna McDonald. And Shauna McDonald's talking to her, and she's just like, I have a daughter that's just a little bit younger than you. And you realize, oh man, okay, this is. Yeah. This is some teenager, just some, dumb, kids are supposed to be dumb.
Yeah, it's just the age. That's all it is.
Yeah, that's all it is. So, I thought that was kind of impressive that they do it without her really. I mean, she doesn't really change any behaviors. They just give you a little more context and a little more background into her, which really wasn't necessary. They could have left her as just a flat, sort of obnoxious kid, and you're sort of, happy when she gets grabbed.
Right.
That get her out of here, that sort of thing. But, they kind of do that little thing with just that small conversation, it humanizes her.
And that's, I think, important. Like I've said it on like Night Watch's channel. When you're following, a group of people and you're going to be following them for pretty much 90 minutes, you have to like the majority of these characters. And I think this film does a good job because, like you said, as we get to know these characters more, you grow to either sympathize with them, understand them, or even like. Yeah. Like I guess you would, I don't really know the names of the characters, but the man with the glasses who, he was the one reading the book. He was
Yeah.
obsessed about reading his book. But then
I think it's Billy, isn't it?
yeah, I think so. But that scene right there,
Yeah.
that's a total fuck yeah moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's great scene because he's so timid and so quiet. But when he loses his shit on that one werewolf, it's a total hell yeah moment, and you love it.
Everybody starts to firm up.
Exactly.
Everybody starts to firm up in very short order, because there's no alternative.
Correct.
So what happens is that, you've just got a random group of strangers,
mm-hmm.
And for some reason that always reminds me of Pulp Fiction, where they rob a restaurant. You have no idea who could be in there at any particular
mm-hmm.
moment. And they just happen to stumble into a restaurant filled, with two bad people.
Right.
That are worse than the robbers,
mm-hmm.
Who sort of de-escalate the whole thing and just kind of send them on their way. Here, it's just a random group of everyday people, who are stuck in this position where they kind of have to firm up. They're no Superman.
Correct.
There's nothing like that, where I was thinking maybe of Dawn of the Dead. Where you've got like Ving Rhames, he's the huge guy with the shotgun,
right.
He's the police officer. There's no authority figure here. Or
mm-hmm.
anybody to kind of take charge. They're all sort of struggling to just kind of, everybody hold it together, not screw everybody over and, to just survive.
And playing on what you just said, what I like, another character that characters I liked the older couple. And you said the one that took charge, no one really took charge. The older gentleman whose wife was bitten or scratched,
Jed.
one of the two,
Jed.
He was very likable too, because he gave a couple of them short motivational speeches. He said something like, I don't know the exact quote, but like hunters attack what they, hunt what they can catch or something like that. So let's give them a way to not let them catch us. That's just paraphrasing, but what I'm.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. And he's the one who starts to get them to create some fortifications on the train.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a movie that really doesn't have a lot of exposure. There were a limited number of, overlays that I could get for this because it was kind of like underwater that way. It was that
mm-hmm.
movie that was kind of canceled by COVID. This movie had no theatrical release.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to find pictures of the older couple, Jed and Jenny.
Yes.
And so there were photos of Jenny, after she had changed. But even those makeup effects for that bite were just, oh man. That looked agonizing.
I'm not going to necessarily just say gore, but the effects in this movie for something like it. I don't know what the budget was. I'm assuming it wasn't very huge. They were really, really good. Not just because we get a lot of blood splatter, but like you said, her wound on her leg that looked gruesome and painful.
Yeah,
mixed with her acting.
Yeah,
she really sold that.
Yeah. She was quite impressive from the get-go. And her performance seemed to expand as they required more of her as she, starts to sort of wolf out.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just, it's rough stuff to watch. She was quite impressive. I don't know her name. But this is kind of the end result of like a senior citizen couple, and one of them gets bit and the one eventually turns on the other because he can't bring himself to put his wife down.
Exactly. That was a good scene too. Exactly. Yeah. And to talk about what'd you say her name was? Jenny.
Jenny.
What I liked with her is her transformation scene was so slow.
Yeah.
She was suddenly getting skinnier. Her hair was thinning out. Vomiting blood, spitting out teeth. Which, if you realize spitting out teeth because we got to have the fangs come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just little scenes like that, and it was just so creative because, you either think it's, the Wolfman, Lon Chaney, the way they did it back then. You have American Werewolf in London, which is a fantastic Rick Baker. But I've never seen someone like vomit up blood and then spit out teeth. So that was something that I have never seen before when it comes to a werewolf transformation. Yeah. And I also liked how, even though when she was attacking her husband and everyone else, she was still she still had human features. Like when you pulled up the picture.
Yeah.
Again, it was really cool because in this film, these werewolves are all unique. If you think about it, they don't all look exactly the same. From the one
No.
that they kill with the axe
No.
to, there's a couple, the three that's in the final scene. I don't want to spoil too much, but they're
Right.
all different. You can tell which ones are females. The females actually have breasts.
Yeah.
So it's all this thought going into this, and it's just so creative for a straight to video werewolf film. If that makes sense, you know what I mean?
No, I understand exactly what you're saying. And, what ended up happening was, this is what happens when you have someone like Paul Hyett, who's a special effects sort of, I kind of say he's kind of a guru. If he's, done The Descent.
Yeah.
Those were impressive effects.
I could see the influence on some of these werewolves, like in the woods. When you just see the glowing eyes, and then when you get closer, they look kind of like those cave creatures from The Descent. You can tell.
Yeah. These were, and these are werewolves that you saw in the, as we get to the end of the film, they're around in the day. You get the impression that they don't change back.
Right.
Once you make this transformation, that's kind of it. And I sort of appreciated the fact that they didn't expand too much into it.
Mm-hmm.
It left it to your imagination. Hold on, we got a couple more comments here. John says, when minor parts get some depth, you feel for them. And
exactly.
Yeah, there was maybe three main people. There's Joe, maybe Shauna McDonald. No. Oh God, the girl who ran the food cart.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah,
the girl who ran the food cart, and the businessman asshole.
Right.
That sort of thing. Werewolves with breasts. So you're watching. Yes, we are watching this now. This is how we're getting our kicks. We're getting our kicks now with nude werewolves. We'll take we don't get it.
We don't judge, John. Everyone's got their kinks, brother.
That's it. We all put our pants on the same way, pretty much, and we don't go much further than that. But this is another thing that we should discuss. These were impressive looking werewolves.
Mm-hmm.
They were formidable.
Yes, I love that look right there.
That's a formidable monster.
Mm-hmm. It's scary looking.
Yeah, it is. It really is a claw. I think they said that the triple jointed legs, but a complete upper male torso of a very large man.
Mm-hmm.
This was something you really didn't want to mess around with much.
And it showed because it's tossing people around. Before it gets taken out, it's throwing people around. I don't remember who it grabs, but I think it grabs someone like by the throat and holds them up to the ceiling before it gets taken out with like a crowbar and an axe. And that whole scene is just so...
It's a gruesome fight scene.
It's a fantastic fight scene, and it's so bloody with just the way the werewolf is taken out. And again, it's, I'll just call him the guy with the glasses who's reading the book. That's his hero moment.
I think it's Billy.
Yeah, that's his hero moment.
Joe is the engineer.
Mm-hmm.
Joe is the engineer. Billy was the Indian-looking fellow. This, that, or the other. And it's an interesting crew of people. It's a hell of a movie. It really is kind of a shame that more people don't know about it.
Right.
More people should be talking about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what I've been talking about more and more. These movies, never get, and almost anything within the past 20 years, rarely gets its due. So maybe it takes more time, for these things to come to light. Maybe they'll start to get picked up on eventually. But for right now, it's just a couple of us.
And you know what? I'm just glad I took that chance.
Yeah.
I'm glad my buddy sent it to me, and I'm glad you asked me to discuss it so I could watch it a second time because
Absolutely.
it's just that good.
Absolutely.
I highly recommend it. Like I said, from beginning to end, and I love the ending because I the asshole gets what he deserves.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm not sure that I want to get too deeply into it because so few people have seen it.
Correct.
It's not like talking about Jaws.
Right.
I think Knight told me one time, if you're doing a review, then we should assume that you've seen it. But this is such a sleeper kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I want to, give it away necessarily.
No, I'm not going. We won't give away the end. That's for sure. But
I mean, it's completely worthwhile.
Hell yeah,
worthwhile, and it's on Tubi right now, and it's on Shudder. It's Howl. Go catch it.
I'll say this. Even if you don't have Shudder, if you got Tubi, that's free. So what are you gonna lose? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because we aren't getting too deeply into it, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Not really, because like I said, we don't want to spoil it too much because there's not a huge audience.
Right.
But all I want to say is, like I said, from beginning to end, it's great. Likable characters, other than the one. Relatable characters, at least me, I related with Joe so much.
Everybody could, yeah.
And the thing is, even though he's kind of a pushover, he's kind of a, air quotes, kind of a loser, he's likable.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He's still that likable character that you want to follow from beginning to end.
He's a good person.
Exactly. And again, the creativity. I totally forgot, we see some werewolves in the daylight. So once you're a werewolf, you're always a werewolf. Creativity, the creativity, the way the Jenny changed, slowly. Like I kind of looked at it kind of like a mixture of like a zombie transformation, because a lot of times in those movies, those are really drawn out.
Yeah.
And this was done really well because again, you're watching this poor woman suffer.
Yeah.
And the inevitable is happening. And just when you think it's going to happen, no, she wakes up, she vomits some blood, spits out some teeth, and she goes back to laying down. And then finally, when it happens and the shit hits the fan, it's a fantastic scene because her husband can't do the deed, but he won't let anyone else do it either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this reminds me, because like I said, unfortunately, I was talking about the Howling.
Mm-hmm.
D. Wallace's husband gets scratched at one point.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just absolutely no progression. Like it goes from one scene where he gets scratched, and they find him that night or something. And like the next scene, the next night or something like that, he's having sex with the woman who scratched him and he's turning into a werewolf.
Yeah,
there's no transition.
Like I said, we're still gonna do it for the podcast around Halloween, just because I'm a Joe Dante fan.
Yeah.
I gotta do it as a Joe Dante fan, but
see if you can find it on YouTube. Sometimes they have free with ads on there.
Yeah, and
maybe it's on Tubi. I don't know. Maybe it's on Tubi.
It could be. I'm not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'll say this: in Howl, there is no animated werewolf sex.
No.
When they finally turn, they don't look like puppy dogs or pissed off rabbits.
But I mean, just it's so bad. The transitioning is so bad, and then the wife finds out that at least she doesn't understand that he's a werewolf, but she figures that she's kind of put it together that he slept with someone else up there.
Mm-hmm.
And his only response to any of it is, "You don't know what it's like," and you're just like, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" Cut. But here, I mean, you're getting, Jenny.
Yep.
With a proper transition, just really, doing a bang up job. Mm-hmm. And how many times do you see an old person become a werewolf?
True.
So yeah.
Very true.
Definitely catch this movie.
Highly recommend it.
Catch it on Tubi, catch it on Shudder. It's still out there. Halloween's just around the corner. I guess that's as good a place as any to.
Pretty much. I think we've said enough. When you watch it on your TV, turn the lights off.
Yeah.
Really get that atmosphere with the darkness.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's just got fantastic atmosphere and creep going
Yes.
on there at all times. You know what I'm watching right now, and I stayed up too late last night because after I watched that, then I was in a good mood, so I wanted to watch
Yeah.
something else, and I found it on Hulu. Um, that series, The Exorcist. Did you watch that?
No, but the one with Gina Davis, right?
Yeah.
I've heard it. I've heard nothing but good.
Oh man, the first season is worthy of The Exorcist.
Okay.
The second season, not so much, and then it got canceled after that. But that first season, man, that first season is fucking fire.
I've heard nothing but good about at least the first season. And you know what? Just to kind of piggyback on that, totally not related to Howl, but the fact that you're talking about watching that TV show. A few weeks ago, I was watching Exorcist 3.
Okay.
I don't know if you and I talked about it, or maybe it was on Night Watch. It's just one of Brad Dourif's most fantastic performance. We might have talked about it when we were doing Halloween 1 and 2, Rob Zombie stuff, but man, he is so good in that.
Yeah, man. You know something? What's so impressive about what Dourif did there is he did it all sitting down in a chair.
Yeah.
The entire performance, he's just sitting in a chair, and he scares the living. And that's why. Have I talked to you since I went to the con? I went to the Monster Con.
No, you haven't.
Okay. So what ended up happening was Brad Dourif was my guy. Like I wanted to see Brad Dourif.
Mm-hmm.
But Brad Dourif, I guess Brad Dourif must be as old as Nicholson now.
Mm-hmm.
And my understanding was that he's terrified of COVID.
Okay.
Maybe he has some pre-existing conditions, and we all have our own opinions about COVID. But I respected the actors coming out there, to meet the fans, because they could have just as easily said, "No, I'm not doing that." This, that, or the other. And there were a couple of actors, and I won't get into it, but after the stream, if you'd like, I'll tell you. There were some people who had like a glass partition up, in front of older actors.
Okay.
Older actors. So I was just like, okay, no big deal, and you get to meet him and talk to him. I'm not sure how the photograph situation worked, with a glass partition up, but whatever.
Right.
Okay. So I walked in there and I immediately went to one of the staff and I said, where can I find Brad Dourif? Like they're going to say, oh, he's sitting right there on the couch, They're like, he's standing right next to you, dumbass, And they said, well, he's up on the mezzanine. So I go, that's the next floor up. So I go up from the ground floor to the next floor, and Brad Dourif has the entire second floor.
Oh, wow.
The whole there's nobody up there. Everybody else is down on the ground. The only other like huge there were a couple of marquee people, but the other person, big person there was Trejo. Danny Trejo was there.
Cool.
So you go up, and I'm like, oh shit, okay. There's about 30, 40 people ahead of me in this line.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. All right, I'll wait. No big deal. I waited for about 30 minutes. The line didn't move.
Oh, wow.
So I started talking to these girls that are behind me, and, we're all talking, and one of the girls said, I'm going up to do a recce, because there's a line that leads to a door, which is like into a conference room.
Okay.
And they're like, Dourif is in there. So I was like, okay. And she's like, I'm going up there. I'm going to do a recce and see what's going on. She goes up there, and she comes back, and she says, look, there's about 50 people in this line ahead of us. There's another line of people, of about 50 people, going in the other direction, so that we both converge on this door. And she said, somebody opened the door, and there's another 50 people inside there. So I said, oh my God, that's 150 people. I said, even if Dourif takes 2 minutes per person, that's 5 hours.
Yikes.
So I didn't get to meet Brad Dourif. But that was one of the things that I was most looking forward to. And I think there's going to be another con in March. And hopefully I'll get a chance to meet him there. And it was the same kind of thing with Trejo. You have to go very early in the morning.
Mm-hmm. But you did get to meet Richard Brake, which I love those pictures with you and him, dude.
I was so excited to meet Rich Brake, and he was the first person I met, because after the thing fell through with Dourif, I went downstairs and I was like, okay, well, I was like, where can I find Rich Brake? And the guy's like, well, if you go through here, you see where you are? He's exactly on the other side of the wall that we're standing on. Like, you know, if you were to reach through the wall, there would be Rich Brake. And sure enough, there he was. And he was so nice. He's like, he plays a fucking psychopath, like a homicidal, sadistic psychopath. Like every time you meet him, and he's just like them. He's like, hey, you know, how's it going? You know. I'll be honest, like I had never met anybody famous before, so I was a little starstruck. I'm like, oh my god, it's fucking Rich Brake. You know, he's made it all the way to the Mandalorian. You know, it's just, you know, it's fucking Rich Brake. So I said, you know, how's it? You know, what's the story? You know, how do you keep playing all these, you know, dark people? And he looked at me, and goes, well, my kids think I'm really fucked up, but you know, you know. And then he comes up and like I'm 6'5".
Okay.
And he stood up and he might have been a little taller than me, but he's like rail thin.
Very
he's
thin,
like super skinny. And he's like, you know, every day I do. And he just comes up and he puts his arm around you and he's like, every day I do like 40 minutes of meditation. And then every day I do 90 minutes of yoga. And he goes, you know, I play some really fucked up people. And he goes, but, you know, because I'm doing this other stuff, you know, I can step out of the one thing and then just step back into, you know, being myself, you know.
That's awesome.
You know, he always stays grounded. So we took the photos and, you know, he had one where he smiles and then all of a sudden he launches into giving the finger. I
like that one, yeah.
So that was cool. I was like, holy shit, I just met Rich Brake. So right next to him is Jeff Daniel Phillips. So I
like this story,
yeah. He's talking to him, and I said, you know, you're over there, and he's like, yeah, you know, he's a friend of mine, and I said, hey, you know, what's coming up next? He goes, oh, you know, I'm always on the lookout for something, you know, something will pop up. It didn't sound like he had anything even actively working on. He's like, you know, I'm always on the lookout, you know, this, that, or the other, and he's like, you know, yeah, Rich and I have been friends for a long time, and he's like, yeah, you know, we're like really, and he's the same way. You know, just really thin, super tall, like chill dude. You know, he's like, yeah, you know, we're just really chill. And the minute he said that, Rich Brake became the Midnight Wolfman.
Yeah.
He fucking launched into this howl, like, right? And he's like, oh, Jeff Daniel Phillips, like, flinched. He's like, oh.
I love that.
Friend for long if he keeps doing that. And I was like, shit, why didn't I think of that? I could have got him, you know, to be the fucking Midnight Wolfman.
Yeah.
But,
that's still cool, dude.
Yeah, I met him and Phillips and Bill Moseley.
Nice. Oh, yeah, I saw your autograph with Bill.
Here's the here's one. I'm talking to Bill Moseley, and I asked him if he's going to be in the Munsters. He's like, I don't know. He said Rob is like a really fickle employer. You know, I might be there, I might not. I don't know. I was like, they got to put you in, man. Even if you're the fucking mailman, you know, you got to be in the Munsters.
Exactly.
You know? So all of a sudden, I'm sitting there and this fucking hand clamps on my shoulder from behind me. I'm like, what the fuck? You know, so I turn around. It's fucking Kane Hodder.
Are you shitting me?
No, it's Kane fucking Hodder. So I turn around. I'm like, shit, it's Kane Hodder. And I look at him and he looks at me. And then he looks over at Bill Moseley and he goes, would you buy these? And he holds out this fucking canvas like tennis shoe. And it's black, but it's got Kane Hodder's picture on it. He looks at Bill Moseley. And like Bill Moseley's looking, like Bill Moseley's like a Yale graduate. He's looking at him like, what the fuck are you talking about? You know? And then like his sense of humor kicked in and he's like, well, if it was a 10.5, maybe, you know, I'd buy it.
Right.
Kane Hodder's like 10.5. He's like, what the fuck is that? Like, what are you in tap dance school or something?
Yeah.
I was like, well, I got a 13. He's like, well, I got a 13 too. And he gave me a thumbs up and he just walked away.
Yeah.
If I had been thinking at all, I would have like implored them to get together so I could have gotten a photo. Yeah. But I wasn't thinking on my feet. And, you know, next thing I knew, Kane Hodder was shoving a tennis shoe in my face. And, you know, it's a little fucking weird. But
those are those cool memories, man. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Happy for you. That's cool.
Yeah. I can't wait to go back. I hope there's going to be another one in March. But yeah, coming back to what we were saying, Dorff. And I said this when we did this for the top 10 list, because I think The Exorcist 3 was in my top 5.
Okay.
I put that up against Anthony Hopkins and Lecter.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know?
Hell yeah.
I would put that up there. And it's just, I think it came out the year before or 2 years before. And it's just a completely overlooked movie.
Mm-hmm.
Completely fucking overlooked movie. But
Yeah.
Here we are. John's here one more time saying, well done. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you
John.
stopping in. We will be back next week. I think it's Hammer Time. I'm looking here as we get down with Christopher Lee as he dabbles in the occult for The Devil Rides Out. It's a double feature for Hammer Time. And then that's on Wednesday. And then on Thursday, Bill and I are back doing the original Hammer Films feature, The Curse of Frankenstein.
Oh, very cool.
The first of many along the way. You and I are going to get it going again real soon for Stakeland, and I can't wait for that.
Me neither.
Thank you again for coming on. It's always good. You're always good company, man.
Hey, always a pleasure, man. Always glad when you reach out.
All right, we're going to skedaddle out of here. Stick around a little bit after the outro.
You got it.
All right, buddy. Have a good night, everybody, and don't waste your time with bullshit. Good night.
Cheers.